وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. When we look at the history of the thinkers and the philosophers in the West, in the earlier centuries before 19th, we find a tendency of looking at this world with some pessimism, looking at this world with some hopelessness. And at that time we find those philosophers preaching what is called cynicism, or certain things which finally lead human beings to renounce the pleasures of this world and to become hermits or to become detached. Later on, these were called puritanical feelings. That means Puritans were called those people who would not allow even ordinary and simple pleasures on earth to be enjoyed by human beings. And that evolved into an idea which we are trying today to debate. Does religion, and for that matter, does Islam lead to a cheerless life? That is the question. It's a very important subject, and I would like you to ponder with me in the few minutes that I will take over this very important and otherwise simple subject. In other words, it means that when you are a practicing Muslim, or for that matter, if you are a very religious man in your outlook and your mindset, then you are a man who has no cheer, no joy in life. Your life takes you to a simple course, simplicity reducing itself to a very, very serious and monotonous way of living. Is that true? Now, if that would have been true, there would have been no khushalis for this community, because why there be khushali? There will be no Eid for this ummah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not want to see that there be a group of people who are always sad and they do not know even the meaning of joy. That was never the intention of religion, nor of Islam. So what happens actually is, as it is said correctly, that as far as joy is concerned, pleasure is concerned, cheerfulness is concerned, it is supposed to be the mark and a distinctive feature of a mu'min. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mu'minu hashun bash. It's a very, very famous hadith. Al-mu'minu hashun bashun. Which means that the mu'min, when you look at his face, he is always smiling, full of pleasure, good to look at, and good to talk to. This is where we have in Persian and also in Urdu, hashash, bashash, means a person who is all the time in good mood. That is what the Prophet said. Now what is the difference? The difference is, my friends, that those who want us to believe that human society, when it adheres to religion, becomes cheerless, they want us to believe that there is no iota of joy left in that community. When the marriage takes place, there is no joy. When khushali takes place, there is no joy. When Eid comes, there is no joy. Why? Because there's no music. Understand? The compliment which is sometimes paid to our very religious families who have their marriages performed, they have what we call mandwo. As long as mandwo does not go against our religion, has religion stopped you? Mandwo is not sunnata. Mandwo is your culture which you brought from Lauji Bhai, Keshavji Bhai and others. Yeah. But since it does not go contrary to our Sharia, therefore has Sharia told you not to do it? Do it. And thereafter in those days, there used to be so many days of marriages, 7 days sometimes. But there used to be Hadith Kisa, there used to be some majlises, there used to be so many things. Sharia did not stop you there. Even today, when a marriage starts, it starts 5, 4, 3 days before marriage date. Families assemble, ladies and gents, paying compliments to each other. It's all jais. That joy has not been restricted. And when the night of marriage comes, mashallah, you dress up in your best and come. We meet each other and we congratulate on that occasion. It's an occasion of joy. Well, then there is nikah. After nikah, if you are within the precincts of Sharia and you have your ceremonies at home, has anyone stopped you? No. Thereafter, you said, tafaddal now. The bridegroom goes to the bride and your responsibility is over. You have done according to Islamic Sharia. Now what is missing is that which goes against Sharia. That means, in other words, they want to classify joy as something which is against Sharia. If that doesn't appear, then it is a joyless marriage. Tell me exactly, what do they mean? I have given one example. Two people, two mu'min, they sit and chat away for 5, 10, 15 minutes and they smile, they laugh, they have simple good jokes and they go away. That is one thing Islam has never stopped. In fact, that is what Islam has encouraged. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself sometimes encouraged light conversation. And we know instances, but one instance which Ghazali has written in Ihya Ulumuddin, a book which has been written on akhlaqiyat. He says, once a woman came to complain, a wife came to complain against her husband to the Prophet. And she said, well, he does this and he does that, as usual. Nothing new. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, yes. That's very bad. I'll call your husband and admonish him. She said, but Ya Rasulullah, you don't know him, do you? He said, I know him, the one who has got whiteness in his eyes. And he said, no, Ya Rasulullah, my husband has no whiteness in the eye. And the Prophet said, Na'am lahu bayad fi ayneh. He has got whiteness in his eyes. And he said, Ya Rasulullah. Now what she understood was that perhaps there was something on the cornea. You see a spot, an opacity. So she said, no, he has no. And the Prophet smiled and said, there is no human being who doesn't have whiteness in the eye. Oh, she said, oh, you mean that? And she smiled. And the Prophet smiled. Now that is the way the Prophet sometimes carried out lighter conversation with the people so that people laughed and smiled. And he did. And there are so many instances, one after the other. This is exactly what Umar ibn Khattab said about Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. I would have given him the khilafah. وَلَكِنْ إِنَّهُ رَجُلٌ مَازِحٌ. But Ali ibn Abi Talib cracks many jokes. he is a man with lighter mood all the time. He has said that. That means to be approachable, to be accessible, to be congenial, to be able to talk and to be able to be talked to was something which he found to be a drawback in Ali ibn Abi Talib. In any way, so what about this cheerfulness and joy? Now let me take you to another thing. They want us, I said, two people were talking to each other, laughing for 10-15 minutes. That is one instance. Now as opposed to that, there is a group of people which sits from morning till afternoon talking nothing but nonsense, passing their time in frivolity, nothing useful. Now they laugh. Whenever you pass from there, either they are backbiting or they are accusing each other, but they are laughing. Now these two are also smiling and laughing. Those are also laughing. The difference is that this is a brief encounter where the encounter is sweet and congenial. There is a waste of time in frivolity. Now that they call cheerfulness and joy. We say that is not that is not joy. That is waste of time. Because of that, the Muslim Ummah lost, wherever it was, lost its progress, lost its fame, and lost its name. In India, I'll give you an example of India first. In those days when there were Nawabs, Nawabs means multi-million nabobs as they are called in English, and they were all landowners. Money came in abundance. Zamindar, they would give away their land to the tillers and planters and farmers, sit at home, advance them some money for seeds, and when the harvest is ready, they would take the harvest, give him 10-20% and say, go. And this is how they lived. The result was that with that sort of enjoyment, they started something to pass the time, like what? Like cockfighting. One Nawab has a cock. Another Nawab has a cock, and the cocks fight. Simple sports, transportation of mind. And they used to give them knives behind the spur, so that each cock would hit the other, and whichever one is killed is defeated. Now, when the Nawabs have their cocks fighting, then there are so many other chamcha who don't work. They sit there from morning till afternoon, one siding with this Nawab and obtains mapesa, and the other one sides with that Nawab. And there's a third party which started betting who will win. Right? When the British government came in, they banned it. They used to play surreptitiously, stealthily. That means when there is no officer, somebody will come and bring two cocks to fight. Now tell me, from morning till afternoon, cocks are fighting. And Nawab Sahib is sitting with all his children, enjoying. Enjoying. Then there was Patang Udana, kite flying. When there used to be northerly winds, which was called Uttarayan. Northerly winds, when they blew, they used to bring kites. And the Nawabs used to, from morning till afternoon, just fly the kites. And there was another sport which was called Tetarbazi. The small birds called Titar, they were kept to fight, and the Nawabs enjoyed, and the people enjoyed. There was no other work. The farmer worked there. He toiled on the land. But here the Muslims were enjoying. While there was too much money, then they started Kabutarbazi. Kabutarbazi means they used to train two pigeons, and one man will come with two pigeons, he will give one to you, one to other, and you fly them. Whichever flies the highest wins. This is used to called Kabutarbazi. Now I have said all this for only this much. After 1857, when there was a riot and a mutiny against British government, and the Muslims took part, major part. In the first riot against the British government, Muslims took major part, much more than the Hindus. Ghadr of 1857. After that, the Muslims in Delhi and other parts of UP suffered economically because there was a decline period, recession. In those days, one day, Ghalib, Mirza Ghalib, you know him? He was in Delhi, he came out of the house and he saw one man going with two pigeons, kabutar. So Ghalib was quite old then, and he said, now I'll say this in Urdu and you will enjoy it because it is in Urdu. Miyan kabutar nahi udate. He said, sir, don't you go there and fly your pigeons? And he said, Mirza Sahab, ab to hawaएं उड़ती हैं और खाक उड़ती है. कि Mirza Sahab, now it is only the wind it blows and the dust is blowing. Kabutar don't fly. And the answer he gave was, Sahab, agar kabutar na उड़ते होते तो हवाएं na उड़ती. If you had not taken into this vocation of kabutar udana, today we would not have come to this position. Kabutar na udte hote, to hawaएं na udti, खाक bhi na udti. But because you spent your time doing this futile exercise, this is the result that today you find dust blowing and wind blowing. Correct? Now let us come to ancient history. The Khilafat, when it was all over and it changed into kingdom of Banu Umayyah, and from Banu Umayyah it came to Banu Abbas. When the time of Banu Abbas came, at the zenith of Banu Abbas, that means at the highest pinnacle of Banu Abbas, that means Rashids, Harun Rashid and Mamun Rashid time. What happened? There was nothing at that time except spending your time, as they say, cheerfully. Music, dances, harem full of ladies and women from all nationalities and things like that. Wine. And that is supposed to be the zenith. Even today, the Western civilization will tell you that the Abbasid Empire reached its zenith in progress. That was the progress. Actually, it was the sign of decline, the beginning of decline, and it declined. When any person or a community loses that balance and becomes overjoyed, or the cheerfulness transcends the limit of Sharia, then this is what happens. That is why there is only one sentence in Nahj al-Balagha from Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, which is enough to make us think. Mawla says, فَاتَّقُوا سَكَرَاتِ النِّعْمَةِ. There is one sakarat of maut. When a person is dying, before dying he gets that sort of sakarat, as we say, a sort of inebriation, sort of intoxication, sort of losing the senses, a trance, whatever you call it. There is one sakarat in ni'mah, fattaqoo sakarat in ni'mah. Beware of that sakarat which comes together with the blessings and bounties. When a man loses and gets intoxicated in it. And that intoxication has two things. One, it doesn't allow you to get out of it. Second, it doesn't keep you in your senses. Well, a man or a community which has gone into such intoxication, where we have transcended the whole regulatory restrictions in Sharia and gone into things like that, then we can't leave it because it becomes our second habit. And secondly, we can't do anything. A community which is engrossed in joy and cheerfulness defeats its own talent. If ni'mah is coming to me from all sides, and I am blessed from all sides, I feel that I don't have anything to do and sit. The talent which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me is gradually degenerated. This is a fact. And a community which does not contribute to mankind has no right to live. وَأَمَّا الزَّبَدُ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم, Quran, Surah Al-Ra'd. وَأَمَّا الزَّبَدُ فَيَذْهَبُ جُفَاءً وَأَمَّا مَا يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ فَيَمْكُثُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That leather that foam which you can see, foam. As you come to the ocean and come to the shore, you see foam. Or the soft leather, foam. The foam, وَأَمَّا الزَّبَدُ فَيَذْهَبُ جُفَاءً. This foam, it goes into extinction by drying up. وَأَمَّا مَا يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ. That which is benevolent and beneficial to humankind, يَمْكُثُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. That remains only on earth. It's a principle in the Quran Majid. My life, if it is just a foam and leather, it must go dried up and forgotten. And if our lives are full of meaning, then it has got right to exist and live. Now a community which did not have right to live disappeared. And it disappeared because of, and today also, the Western civilization has already diagnosed our disease. Therefore, you find Muslim kingdoms, you see, full of all those things. I can't even speak about them on Mimbar. But if in Las Vegas, a Muslim prince in one night can lose $10 million by playing only, you can imagine where the wealth is going. But there is wealth, the show of wealth, the villas, the visit at casinos. Because money is there, therefore the visitors are at casino. At one place I read myself with my own eyes, this casino will be closed during Muharram and Safar because of mourning of Imam Hussain alayhi salam. I have read it. That implies that our visitors and customers are all Najris. Because there is too much money. The talent is stifled and stultified. The only thing that remains is inebriation, intoxication, because there's too much, and therefore we believe. And that is why so many families fail to educate their children, because they thought the money will last forever. So many people fail even to contribute. The children, the youths, for whom we cry day in and day out, that we must do something. How will you do if a young man is in a family where joy and cheerfulness and all that glamour is the way of life? That youth cannot do anything. You have got to understand that there is a life whereby even if I have all the blessings around me, I have got to lead a life of purpose and get myself from the entanglement of. One of the things is that we see around us people, mashallah, very happy. We forget one thing, that this is nothing but glamour, deceptive. Maulana Qalbi Sadiq Sahib has got one very, very good example. Maulana Qalbi Sadiq Sahib, we all know him. May Allah give him long life. He says that at times when the wife says, I want to go to the majlis, and there is a small child at home, and he tells you, you mind the child today. You have never minded in your life, so now you look after the child. I am going to majlis. The child is so young that it has got to be breastfed. But the mother very wisely leaves a small bottle of milk and says, if he cries or she cries, just give milk. Now, Miaji is at home. Begum is at the majlis. And the child starts his stunt, crying. So what you did was that the half bottle of milk you gave to it. It kept quiet, finished the bottle, but did not fill the tummy. But it kept quiet, and you are proud. I know how to mind the boy. These women think that they are the only one who can. And suddenly it starts crying again. So now what will you do? You can't give it banana. You can't give it biscuit. You can't give any solid food. So what will you do? So you will start talking their language and all that, making faces and voices and all that. And the child will be amused for a few seconds and look at you and wonder, you see, and might keep quiet for some time. Once you forget that grimace and all that, the child starts again. Now what will you do? You will hunt for some toys and give it. The child is so young, it takes one toy and throws it and gives it another. The child hardly appreciates the toy, but it sees an object, sees it this way, that way, and throws, and again it cries. What will you do now? Then you will start clapping, because as long as you are clapping, the child is listening to the clap, and it might be engrossed in that clap. And after that, the child starts again. So finally, I stand up and start dancing. And as I dance around the child looks and wonders what is happening. Qalb Sadiq al-Islam said, the world is hungry. Humanity is suffering from hunger, which is of spirituality. It wants to know the meaning. In order to escape that, people are dancing all over the world. Everyone who is dancing on the ballroom floor is actually missing something and trying to satisfy that hunger which will never be satisfied. What is needed is that particular thing which a child needed. Milk. Food for her physique, for his physique. You need that food for your spirit, which is not there. The glamour that you see, that all of them are in the hotels and the restaurants. Our elderly people, sometimes they said something, though they did not mean, but it was something so apt. You see, our elderly people, very simple. When they saw the way they live, they say, now that did not mean anything, but it actually is a very deep sentence. If a man has a happy home, his life is not like those vagabonds and vagrants. If a man can derive happiness at home from Quran Majid, from reading, from meeting friends, from discussing things which is for enlightenment, then there is no need for going to the ballrooms and dancing. But these are all because when any person feels dissatisfied, he tries to make amends. You see, when a man is unhappy, he eats more. Not that he enjoys. He doesn't enjoy. He just eats, that's all. You ask him what has happened, you are, mashallah, growing from all sides. You see, it's not a sign of happiness. Actually, he is making amends of it. So when you see a man doing something, actually he is suffering from something contrary to it. And he is trying to make amends by doing something contrary to it. That means, if you find sometimes a man is laughing loudly, must know that there is something wrong somewhere. All the time he is laughing, that means he is trying to cover up that inadequacy in him. Doesn't laugh, but he laughs so much. That means there is some inadequacy somewhere. That is why psychologists say there is nothing like superiority complex. There is only inferiority complex. A man who is trying to throw his weight around and make himself look superior is actually suffering from inferiority complex, and therefore is trying to act contrary. Do you understand? So this is what the picture is, my friend. Islam teaches you to be cheerful, to be enjoying your life within the limitation, so that both developments take place together. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.